Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Summer's coming to an end out at Granny Camp. It's getting cold here in Alaska, as it will be everywhere soon. We know that winter's coming, and you've heard the expression, the winter of our discontent. Well, this could possibly be the winter of our discontent as Americans if we look at the things that are going on in our world. We've just had horrible forest fires in all of the West Coast. They've had double hurricanes in the southern states, terrible crop losses and storms in the Midwest, not to mention all of the political turmoil and upset in our cities and the questions coming forth about voting in America. Combine that with the things happening throughout the world, the second wave of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, and maybe the shutting back down of the few businesses and schools that have been allowed to open. The future does seem scary and uncertain, but there are things that we can still do to make sure that we have prepared the best we can so that no matter what comes along, we're going to be able to confront it with preparedness. If we do the best we can to provide the things that we need, we can be prepared and not scared. I've written down a list of things to make sure that I have the things that I need going forward into winter, and I thought I would share that with you in case there are some tips or items that can help you make sure you're getting the preparedness items that you need as well. Number one, make sure you have stored as much water as you can. Number two, make sure you have an adequate supply of food. You should have your pantry full of foods that you can open and eat, things that you could prepare breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for your family for many months to come. Then make sure you have long-term food storage, foods that are put away that can last up to 30 years. That gives you the foundation of knowing you have the basics that you need. Then there are basic supplies that we need that are everyday items. Do you have extra batteries? What about those little battery banks that you can use to charge up your electronics or your cell phones? I like to put out this solar yard light so that I can easily find my way in the dark, which is a lot of the time coming up. Make sure you have extra candles, that you have lighters, matches, ways that you can light your candles. My kitchen's running low on aluminum foil and Ziploc bags, so those are items that I want to get an additional supply. If you have pets, make sure you have the food and supplies that you need. Do you need dog training treats? Do you need kitty litter? Maybe you need special bedding for your hamsters. Think about what your needs are for your pet and make sure that you have an extra supply of the things that your pet is counting on you providing for them. If you have babies or infants, make sure that you have the food that they would need. Make sure that you have diapers, wipes, and any supplies that your baby or child would need. If you have school-age kids, you already know that it has been just a harrowing last few months. Get some new craft supplies, some simple coloring books, paper, pencils, crayons, any little items that you can hand out to your kids to keep them entertained on a dark, cold, rainy, or snowy evening. Have a basic sewing kit so that you can maintain the clothes that you already own. If you're like me, you haven't been to the store, you haven't bought any new clothes, and there's no reason to get new clothes if we're not going anywhere. Maintain the clothes that you have with a simple basic sewing kit. Fall is also a good time of year to stock up on new socks and underwear, and maybe you need new pajamas if you lived in them like so many of us did during the pandemic. Then think about your personal hygiene supplies. Do you have a stockpile of the things that you really use every day? Do you have chapstick, toothpaste, toothbrushes? Do you have shampoo, lotion? How about razors? Deodorant, feminine hygiene products, and don't forget, cold and flu season is coming without a pandemic. Make sure you have some cold and flu remedies and some boxes of Kleenex on hand. One of the areas that I'm concerned with is due to the massive forest fires they've had in the West, building supplies are probably not going to even be available except for what's already in the store. There's going to be a long period of time before they can salvage log all these huge forest fires. Plus, many of the little towns that burned down in the West Coast are logging towns. They had their mills, their operations for making paper. I would guess a lot of those types of supplies are going to be in short supply, or the price is going to shoot up in the next few months and maybe even longer. If there are building supplies that you're planning on having in the short term, maybe you have a simple project you want to do around your home, you might see if you can get some of those items checked off before winter takes over. Halloween is on the horizon, and we know this pandemic has put a halt to every single activity that we've looked forward to with fun and anticipation for ourselves and for our families. Load up one of those great big bags of Halloween candies, because your children probably aren't going to be able to go out and get some. Plan some special activities, projects, and fun times to celebrate dressing up, using your imagination, and pretending. Children need to pretend, and that's part of their development of having a happy outlook and imagining, what could I be, where could I go, what can the future hold for me. We don't want it to just be this dim and grim pandemic and all of these things that are going on. We want to try to keep it as fun and lighthearted as possible. The more lighthearted we can keep it for our children and ourselves, the better outlook we're going to have. Look at things positively. Maybe we can't go out and trick or treat. We can't go visit at the senior center. We don't get to have the fun we've had in the past, but we can have a new kind of fun with the activities that we can plan with our own little family, and maybe a bubble of friends and family if you have that ability close within your area. There are a lot of changes coming, a lot of things that we're uncertain about, and the more we prepare and try to imagine how we can make it better, how we can be prepared, and how we can face an unknown future is going to help everyone feel better and have a more positive outlook on an uncertain future. If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else who might enjoy it. Learn more at alaskagranny.com, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.